Peter. Can everybody hear me in the back? Okay. Howard's sense of optimism is renowned in our office. I think all of you know the story about the glass being half empty or half full. Let me just give you a little insight into how Howard might look at a glass, 8-ounce glass with exactly 4 ounces of liquid in it. First, he would study it closely, take off his glasses so he could actually see it, and he'd notice that it's actually rosy colored, not clear. He would be immediately convinced that the liquid is a fine wine, not just plain water. He'd go to the cupboard, he'd find similar glasses, he'd pour all of the liquid into a smaller one, so then he could declare, no, that glass is overflowing, it's not just half full. Then he'd go to the wine cellar and pour wine into the rest of the glasses, so everybody could partake. Seriously, if you think I'm kidding about Howard and how he views things, let me relate a story. I don't think she was able to come tonight, but you're all familiar with Kate Racer and the public funding rounds and how Kate often explains certain things at those funding rounds. At a recent one, Kate was apparently adamant that deals of a certain type would not be funded in the next round. So to make her point, Kate has a way of making her point very well, she stood up and she said, now I want to be perfectly clear, zero deals would be funded. For those of you in the back, I have my forefinger and thumb making a 0 sign here. So Howard was coming back and relaying Kate's discussion at a next staff meeting. And Howard described it and he said, but you know, I really think she left the door open for a few deals. We all kind of looked at him and said, well, what do you mean? You just described it. And he said, well, I saw her, but I heard her maybe mention something about 0. But I clearly saw 3 fingers in the air. I assure you that really happened, and it is how Howard views the world. All of us, what do these examples demonstrate, at least for me? That it's absolutely fascinating to see how Howard's mind works. That it's challenging to try to keep up with him and his extraordinary insights and creativity. And that many of us end up a pretty little bit exhausted at the end of each week. But Howard's energy and optimism and enthusiasm, it extends not only to his work life, but also to his civic and religious life. In recent years, this has meant serving with Tom Alperin as co-chair of Hebrew Senior Life. Prior to that, it was serving with his wife, Myra Musicand, as co-presidents of their temple. Howard's actively been involved in his commitment to housing organizations, as Peter spoke of, whether it's NH&RA or CHAPA or the Mass Housing Advisory Board and Board of Directors. Many of us could go on and on. But he really brings a unique perspective to many meetings and many organizations. And that's really because of his background, both on the legal side, from a legal services perspective, from a law firm perspective, from having served as general counsel at Mass Housing, at the Cambridge Housing Authority, and then for the last 15 years at Beacon Communities in a CEO role. I have to say, many of my colleagues are here tonight at Beacon. I think all of us are incredibly proud of our housing portfolio. During the last 15 years, we've closed on financing in excess of $800 million. We have built some beautiful buildings, and we have done so with some very complex financing structures that will make our heads spin. But as Pam Goodman, the president of our development company, often reminds us, much more importantly, we build communities. We build them and then we work hard to foster and to sustain them. that sense of pride in what we do is driven by Howard. As Peter mentioned, I've been working with Howard for about 24 years. That was both at Beacon and at Ms. Levin prior to that. During that time, I've actually had a chance to spend a great deal of time with Howard, Myra, and his family. And I have to say, above all of the things I've mentioned, all of the accomplishments, I know for Howard that his 3 children shine above all else. And I have to say, he's right on the money on that one. Josh, Jenny, and Molly are just terrific kids. No rosy-colored glasses needed. So it's my privilege to introduce to you my mentor and my partner, Howard Cohen.